In recent hours, social media has been flooded with claims that 3I Atlas sent a transmission to Earth. What started as faint murmurs within small, obscure online circles rapidly intensified into a viral surge, reaching hundreds of thousands of users within just a few hours. The timing fueled intrigue, as the rumors aligned with newly released telescope data shared among select scientific teams. Almost immediately, curiosity transformed into widespread belief that something extraordinary had occurred. On the 5th of June, 2025, the SETI Institute confirmed that a narrowband radio signal had been detected coming from the direction of Kepler-44b, a potentially habitable exoplanet approximately 1,200 light-years away. For more than 40 years, SETI has systematically scanned the cosmos, cataloging thousands of anomalous signals, static bursts, pulsar noise, and satellite interference. Yet this signal was fundamentally different. It was not random. It repeated. Even more astonishing, its modulation displayed clear signs of structure, as though intentional language had been embedded within its rhythm. Researchers who compared it to known systems like Morse code acknowledged similarities, but emphasized that its complexity surpassed anything attributable to natural phenomena. The initial press briefing underscored the magnitude of the discovery. Dr. Lina Romani, a Berkeley astrophysicist with a long-standing collaboration with SETI, addressed a global audience. Her voice shook as she spoke, openly admitting that the signal was unlike anything previously recorded. She acknowledged that its patterns bore undeniable indicators of intelligence. While she refrained from making definitive claims, she made it clear that this was far beyond conventional space noise. Then, without warning, the livestream abruptly cut out mid-sentence and never resumed. At first, viewers assumed a technical malfunction, but when the entire press conference vanished without explanation, a sense of unease took hold. 2 days later, on the 7th of June, an anonymous poster on a hidden forum uploaded what was described as an internal NASA briefing document. Though the source was questionable, the contents were not easily dismissed. The file included detailed spectrograms, waveform analyses, encryption frameworks, and even AI-assisted interpretations. Most startling was a partially decoded transcript that read, "We have watched. We come in cycles. You're not alone. Prepare." The blunt simplicity of the message ignited an online inferno. Independent scientists, analysts, and amateur astronomers rushed to scrutinize the data, comparing it with established signal analysis methods. The discussion spread rapidly, jumping from fringe investigative forums into mainstream platforms, with entire communities collaborating in real time to decipher its meaning. By the 9th of June, everything vanished. Threads were erased, user accounts suspended, links wiped clean, and even archive copies disappeared. For many observers, this digital purge only strengthened the belief that something authentic had leaked. 2 days later, on the 11th of June, the White House released a cautiously phrased statement. It admitted that anomalies had been detected in communication systems, but insisted there was no indication of intelligent origin. The public was urged to disregard misinformation circulating on unofficial channels. That same day, NASA's Deep Space Network went offline for what was described as routine maintenance. SETI's website became restricted, and the Allen Telescope Array livestream, once continuous, displayed only an error message. The precision of these shutdowns felt impossible to dismiss as coincidence. Shortly afterward, a whistleblower using the alias Jake came forward. A former Jet Propulsion Laboratory associate, his credentials were verified before his online presence was swiftly erased. He claimed the transmission was not one-sided. According to him, Earth had responded with a ping, and multiple replies were received in return across varying frequencies, all bearing unmistakable signs of intelligence. When questioned about the content of these follow-up messages, he revealed only that they were not hostile, but an invitation. A fast-moving object the size of Manhattan is now racing toward our solar system, expected to make its closest approach to Earth on December 17th. Is it a comet, an asteroid, or something entirely different? A Harvard astrophysicist has suggested there is a strong probability that it is an alien craft. The implications for humanity would be immense. It may not be a rock. It is known as 3I/Atlas. When asked to present the strongest case for its extraterrestrial nature, the explanation focused on its brightness. If the light is reflected sunlight from a solid body, the object would need to be approximately 20 kilometers wide, larger than Manhattan Island. Previous interstellar visitors were hundreds of times smaller, making it illogical for the third detected object to be 100 times larger without any intermediate discoveries. Its trajectory is also perfectly aligned with the plane of the planets around the Sun. The fundamental question remains whether this alignment was engineered by intelligence. Despite the scale of these revelations, mainstream media attention faded. Major networks avoided the topic. Independent reporters described unusual obstacles to publishing, and podcasts covering the issue mysteriously disappeared. Even prominent scientists appeared to retreat. Neil deGrasse Tyson briefly suggested that first contact might be oddly unremarkable, only to delete the statement shortly after. What should have dominated headlines dissolved into silence. As days passed, unusual visual phenomena were reported. On the 15th of June, amateur astronomers in Chile, Japan, and Canada documented flashes of light originating from Kepler 442b. Unlike natural stellar events, these flashes appeared intentional, repeating in a sequence of 3, then 6, then 3 again, cycling roughly every 19 hours. Some linked this pattern to the original signal intervals, while others speculated it represented a countdown or secondary form of communication. The lack of confirmation from major observatories only deepened the mystery. While governments and institutions remained silent, discussion flourished across social media, encrypted networks, and grassroots skywatcher communities. Observations were shared and dissected endlessly, yet official acknowledgement never came. For those who had followed the story from the start, the timeline was unmistakable. A structured signal arrived. It was decoded. Earth responded. Multiple replies followed. Then came a coordinated suppression of information. The word prepare became the central point of debate. Was it a warning of arrival, an invitation to dialogue, or a signal of repeating cycles that had occurred before? A smaller faction feared it implied a long-standing pattern of observation and return. The recurring 363 light pattern was interpreted as confirmation that communication had moved beyond radio waves into visual signaling. This dual-channel method demonstrated a level of sophistication that left little doubt of deliberate intent. Combined with the whistleblower's claim that Earth's response had been acknowledged, the evidence formed a chain too compelling to dismiss. Institutional silence became a message of its own. Restricted access, withheld data, and public avoidance only reinforced belief among those who had seen the evidence. The events of June 2nd, 2025 represent a pivotal moment in human history. For decades, people imagined receiving a message from the stars. Few expected it to arrive with such clarity and repetition. Fewer still anticipated deliberate suppression to follow. Yet the facts persist. A message arrived. It was decoded. Earth replied. The reply was answered. The truth may not dominate broadcasts or headlines, but it survives in leaked documents, witnessed flashes of light, and the single word that continues to echo: prepare. Around the same time, a video surfaced online showing a massive object breaking through cloud cover. After it was shared, the footage spread rapidly, prompting further investigation. The individual who recorded it claimed to have noticed something unusual while looking out an airplane window. He quickly began filming, emphasizing that the object was clearly visible from a great distance. He described 4 large arm-like structures piercing through the clouds. This sighting sparked intense debate, with some suggesting the object was simply a mountain. However, despite nearby peaks exceeding 20,000 feet, determining altitude was difficult due to cloud layers ranging from 10,000 to 60,000 feet. The witness stated the flight path was from Bogota to Medellin and insisted the object did not resemble any known mountain in the region. He emphasized the plane's high altitude and the absence of surrounding terrain. Another observer expressed astonishment at the footage, describing the structure as resembling a colossal forearm embedded in clouds. Skeptics argue the aircraft may have been flying above a mountain partially obscured by cloud cover, creating an optical illusion of four arms. No additional information has since emerged regarding the photographs. UFO sightings near aircraft have long captivated public attention. Pilots, crew members, and passengers have reported encounters with objects displaying extraordinary shapes and flight capabilities that defy conventional physics. Pilots, in particular, are regarded as credible witnesses due to their training and experience. Their reports describe objects exhibiting intelligent control and maneuverability far exceeding known aircraft. In 2004, U.S. Navy pilots encountered an unidentified object off the California coast. The craft lacked visible wings, rotors, or exhaust and performed erratic maneuvers while hovering at low altitude. The incident, supported by multiple witnesses, remains one of the most documented UFO encounters. Government disclosures of formerly classified UFO records further underscore the seriousness with which such events have been treated. Scientific inquiry continues to explore these phenomena. Some theories propose advanced extraterrestrial or unmanned craft using unconventional propulsion, such as anti-gravity or electromagnetic systems. Others suggest atmospheric illusions, though such explanations fail to account for all cases, especially those witnessed by trained pilots. The consistent reports of superior maneuverability challenge existing physics and propulsion models. Some researchers suggest UFOs may be drawn to aircraft due to technological curiosity, viewing human aviation as a benchmark of advancement. Others propose an interest in observing human behavior or initiating contact with military forces as official representatives of Earth. Military aircraft, equipped with advanced radar and weaponry, may serve as focal points for potential interaction. As the silence stretched on, the absence of official clarification became increasingly unsettling. Historically, moments of genuine uncertainty are often marked not by statements, but by restraint. In this case, the restraint felt deliberate. Agencies that typically thrive on transparency retreated behind locked channels, while scientists accustomed to public discourse suddenly grew cautious. Conferences that were scheduled weeks in advance quietly removed sessions related to anomalous signals and interstellar objects. Research papers that had been teased in abstracts never materialized. To many observers, this pattern suggested not confusion, but control. Within private networks, analysts began reconstructing the timeline independently, preserving fragments before they could be erased. Screenshots, cached files, and mirrored data sets circulated quietly, forming an underground archive of what had briefly surfaced in public view. These efforts revealed consistency across sources. The signal characteristics matched those described in early reports. The timing aligned with telescope releases. The light pulses observed days later mirrored the same rhythmic logic seen in the radio data. Taken individually, each piece could be dismissed. Together, they painted a cohesive picture that refused to fade. Attention returned repeatedly to the word prepare. Linguists and semiotics experts debated its implications, noting its ambiguity. Preparation could imply arrival, change, or responsibility. It could also suggest observation reaching a threshold, a moment when passive watching gives way to engagement. The phrase, "we come in cycles," intensified this concern. Cycles imply repetition, recurrence, and inevitability. If contact followed a pattern, then humanity might not be encountering something new, but something ancient, something familiar with the long rhythms of cosmic time. The object, designated 3I/Atlas, became a focal point for this interpretation. Its scale, trajectory, and timing placed it uncomfortably close to the unfolding sequence of events. Analysts noted that December 17th was not presented as an impact date, but a closest approach, a moment of proximity rather than collision. This distinction mattered. It implied intent without aggression, presence without destruction. For some, this reinforced the idea of observation rather than invasion. For others, it raised the possibility of assessment, as though Earth itself were being examined. Public fascination continued to grow despite the lack of headlines. Skywatching groups expanded rapidly, with amateurs coordinating across continents to monitor the same regions of space. Every unusual glint, every fluctuation, every anomaly was logged and compared. Patterns were sought not just in the sky, but in institutional behavior. The synchronized withdrawal of access, the sudden silence from familiar voices, and the disappearance of once visible data streams became data points of their own. Psychologists observing the phenomenon noted a shift in public reaction. Rather than panic, there was a subdued intensity, a collective holding of breath. People did not riot or collapse into fear. Instead, they watched, waited, and documented. The mystery fostered a strange unity across ideological and cultural divides. In encrypted chats and quiet forums, individuals shared the same questions regardless of background. What does preparation mean? Who decides how humanity responds? And what happens if the silence breaks? The recurring visual signals continued intermittently, always distant, always precise. Their consistency ruled out randomness. Their restraint ruled out spectacle. They did not overwhelm the sky or demand attention. They simply repeated patiently, as though time itself were irrelevant. To many, this restraint was more unsettling than overt displays. It suggested confidence, perhaps even familiarity with human behavior and reaction cycles. Speculation persisted that governments were not suppressing the truth because it was terrifying, but because it was destabilizing in a quieter way.